I have 3 older sisters, and I basically grew up at the soccer field. I started playing myself at 4, and then I started playing club, so competitively at 7, and I kind of always knew I was going to play pro soccer. My sister, who's 5 years older than me, went pro, and I got to see her do that, and it kind of just gave me like that confidence booster, or like hope that it's really possible for me to do that. Um, and oh shoot. So yeah, um, I played club, and then I went to school at Santa Clara and played there. And then I got a few calls into like the youth women's soccer national team. And then went to Santa Clara, played pro. I played with the Seattle Reign, but I couldn't really play because I had to have surgery. And then a year later, I went to Norway and played for Stabæk, and I then had to have surgery again. So I just feel like my career has been hampered by my right knee. It just doesn't seem to want me to play, which was really unusual for me because I never got hurt until I was a sophomore in college. So like that was my ACL was the biggest injury I've had, and it just now is so normal to me to like injure my knee, and I'm sure so many other people can relate. But yeah, that's how I kind of got into soccer, and yeah, how it's been so far. So I tore my ACL, and then literally the first full game back, I got the bone bruise that you usually get when you tear your ACL. Luckily, I didn't re-tear my ACL. I should have, but I didn't. So just like my first game that happened. So that kind of was like a bummer. I was out for like 3 weeks after I had just been out for 10 months. And then the year after, I tore cartilage off the back of my knee, and I had to get that scoped out. And then the year after that, it was my senior year. Luckily, I was fine. And then when I played in Norway, I had some freak like tweak in my knee and ended up tearing partially my PCL and then fully my postlateral corner, which connects your meniscus to your shin bone. And while they repaired that, they tore my meniscus. And so it was just like, that was kind of not my fault, but it just seemed like no matter what I did, something was going to happen to that knee. It was just a matter of when, you know? It's almost like I feel like every women's soccer player may have torn their ACL, or they think they're going to, or they might. I don't know. I just feel like it's so common. So when I tore it, I first off didn't know what my ACL was. I was just like, something's not right.
Yeah.
But they told me how long it was to come back to play, and I was so shocked. So that really threw me, like, I was sad, obviously, and I was just confused. I didn't know like if I was going to be able to, because I don't know if I had ever heard people talk about it. Like, I think they had, but I just didn't, I don't know, have a real connection to someone with that. So that was tough. But I think for me, that year was just to progress myself, or like a small win was exciting for me, and it just kept motivating me. And also like doing as much physical therapy I could around the team. Luckily, I could do that at Santa Clara. We have like a way for me to do that. So just being it as involved to like kind of have support of your teammates and just not feel so left out, because I feel like that's a big thing with physical therapy is it's all done on your own for the most part. Like maybe you have a friend or someone who's also going through it, but usually it's by yourself. It's a total mental game. Like coming back from an ACL is also scary mentally, because maybe you don't trust your body or something like that. So I think just kind of communicating with like the trainer to make sure you feel that confidence and like reassurance that nothing's going to happen, like you've put in that work to stay strong. And then just every time it would like every other injury after that, it was kind of like, okay, I got this, like I've done it before, I can come back and I'll be stronger. Like, you are always stronger after surgery, but I think every time I've gotten a surgery done, I kind of learned something new. And whether that's like a new exercise that I hadn't done before, or like the way I ate, or really focusing on sleep and not rushing into something, or like, you know, all the little things that you wouldn't think play into something like that, I had learned before. And so I think it was a chance for me to like use something I had learned. And I kind of looked at it as that way, even though like no one wants to have that many surgeries, but you can't really do anything about it. And that's also the thing, is like, you can't control like, you can to some extent, you can control an injury, but something that happens, like a fluke thing like this, that is just uncontrollable and you can't really dwell on that.
Right.
So just focusing on the things that you can control, and like being as positive as possible, even though, you know, it's hard sometimes, but
Yeah.
it's the only way to like get you through that
Right.
tough time. I've worked with a few doctors, but I think number one for me when using a doctor was making sure I had a good connection with them. I don't, I had spoken to a doctor one time and I was just like, you don't really seem to care about anything but repairing my knee, which is great. But like, if I'm going to be seeing you for a long time, I need to have a better connection, because I want to feel comfortable and be able to feel like I could tell you how I feel and what's actually going on. And I think that was the biggest thing for me. And having someone I can just text and be like, my knee doesn't feel right, like, what's going on. So I'm really lucky to have that, and that has been really nice. But I think my biggest thing that my doctors have always told me was to let you know your body the best. So if something's not feeling right, don't feel pressure by other people to continue, or to think that it's just in your head. um, I kind of had that happen to me a few times in college, where I just pushed through something even though I shouldn't have, even though I knew I shouldn't have to, like I felt something wrong.
Yeah.
Um, and especially in college, like, you only have a certain amount of games and you have some support, but maybe not all the support that like a high professional player has to say, like, I don't feel this. Like, it's
Yeah.
just a hard thing to navigate, but really kind of listening to yourself would be like the biggest advice I could give anyone about anything. Some things I could have done differently were strengthening random areas of my like legs or hips. Those first few weeks are so important, and they could be really tedious, but it's something that you need to do, and you need to constantly do it, even though it's not something that you might see big progress in. It's just like those muscles that are small and that are keep you stable and healthy. And I think that was something I go back to all the time. Like, every time I have surgery, I don't want to do leg raises or whatever, but it's key to helping your quad grow. And I've always had trouble with my quad. So it's kind of unlucky with our hips. So that's also a thing I've always heard, like your hips being different than men and you're just more successful. I can't say that word. And yeah, it's just, you could do some things to prevent that. Like, sometimes it's just luck, you know, but focusing on your hips really is important. I always do squats. I don't know if I would ever not do squats. Like squats, lunges, all that band work that maybe people still do, but I do all the time, like leg races and side walks, side lateral band walks. And what I haven't done until like this past year was strengthening my adductors, which I
Mm-hmm.
didn't honestly really think about, and which is crazy because it's a main muscle that helps stability in your knee. And so, yeah, you could do side planks on your outside leg to strengthen that adductor. Those are all great to keep your hips stable. Oh, and like fire hydrants with the band. The band is like my number one go-to for any workout. You could take it anywhere, and it's a hard workout, so I love doing those. That's so hard. I think I even have a hard time with that too, because if I don't work out, or if I hadn't worked out in this many days, I feel guilty, or like I just, yeah, I feel extremely guilty and lazy, But in that circumstance, I really just convince myself that I need to be doing this. And I instead roll out and ice and elevate and heat and do all the other stuff that helps that inflammation. But along with that, if I'm doing something and I'm like, this doesn't feel right, I'm going to stop immediately. Even though it sucks, I'll do like core or something that does not involve my knee. But if it's something minor where I'm not feeling it, it just feels, I don't know. It's honestly so, there's like a fine line. You can't tell someone to be like, stop when you feel this, because it's so different for everyone else. But for me, if I feel anything that doesn't feel like you should push through it, I don't do it. Like if it is a sore muscle type of feeling, I'll continue because I know that it's probably just a muscle around my knee. But if it's causing inflammation, I'll stop, because that's a sign that something's wrong. So I think that's what I would say. Like recently I've been doing tiny movements because my knee keeps getting swollen. So I don't even go to 90 degrees when I squat. And I've been doing a lot of Pilates stuff that doesn't involve my knee being bent. And that's another way to like avoid inflammation, but still wanting to work out, is just doing a lot of, I love Pilates. I've found that to be so helpful with my knee and just like overall impact on my body. There has to be a balance somewhere. And like, especially in college, I feel like you're always just go, no breaks. And it's just not healthy. And like kind of transitioning out of that is just hard. And there's not really a guide for that, and it's always so different for everyone. But yeah, I've been dealing with that myself. And I was like, I feel like I'm kind of alone in this, but after talking about it, so many other people feel that way too. And I think that's also a good thing to remember, is that it's not just you feeling that way or feeling guilty for not working out. It's like the society has put these thoughts in our head that we need to be doing that all the time, when that's not true. So my freshman year is pretty crazy. Julie Johnson, now Ertz, was on the team, Sophia Huerta, and it was just, they're like people I still look up to till this day. We were really good. It was crazy to be a part of. I wish we would have gone farther in the tournament. We should have. That game, we were just so unlucky. Looking back, I wish I would have enjoyed it more. I think I was kind of like, if I was going to go pro or something like that, and not really enjoying that game that day, because I mean, I loved game days. I mean, everyone loves game days, but yeah, I think they go by so fast that we kind of just, you're just eager to like keep going. And I think I wish I would have enjoyed it more, because you only get like, I think it's 20 games a season, which is nothing. And I wish I wasn't so nervous too, because I was just like a nervous wreck, but it was so much fun. I felt like those were the best 4 years of my life. I wish I could go back. So many people would show up to our games, and they were televised, and the facilities were great. It was the best field I've ever played on. And so all these things, I just wish I would have taken it in a little more, rather than being so worried about what was happening next. I mean, first off, I would say, if you are even thinking about it, do it. Even if you end up not making the team, or I don't know, you ended up not liking it, trying it, like there's a chance you could make it easily. And just putting in that work, you'll learn so much about yourself during that experience. But just like trying to get, I don't know, like I think there's so many people are capable of playing, and not being so hard on yourself and just enjoying it and enjoying the process rather than, like I said earlier, early back a few minutes ago, instead of being so worried about the outcome or what's happening next, just thinking about what you can do now and every day rather than, that long-term goal. Like building up to it will get you there. And I think the regret would be worse than not trying. So I think just working hard, making those daily goals, and yeah, just enjoying it. Obviously, like my club coach, and my dad was my manager, and my sister played at Cal, so she was really good, so that helped me. And I think, I mean, no one, it's hard. A lot of people don't have that situation where you can look up to your older sister, but I think finding someone you can look up to and maybe like getting a mentor to help you, like, guide you to that goal of yours is really special to have, because a sneak peek of what it's like, and they can help you guide you to wherever you want to go when it comes to whatever division soccer team you want to play for. Or maybe they know someone that can also connect you. And another thing I would say is having a good attitude, like no matter what. Maybe you are the star player and you get to that team you're playing for and you sit on the bench. And yeah, that's going to suck. But if you have a good attitude about it, I'm sure that's going to change. And just, yeah, staying positive and being grateful for like the opportunities that come your way. So she was our assistant coach, and that was also, I should have said that was crazy. Like, I'm friends with her, and it's just wild to think of, like, Leslie Osborne, Allie Wagner, Danielle Slayton. Like, I know all of them, and I've babysat their kids, and it's just like I said, back then I was kind of not took advantage, but I didn't realize how special that was. And now, like, that I actually talk to them, it's just like crazy that I grew up watching them play on the women's national team, and they were like my coaches and mentors. So even growing up, they weren't ever televised all that much. Like, they didn't get paid that much. They didn't get the opportunities that the men's teams get, or like maybe the women's national team gets right now, but they showed up every day, no matter the circumstance, and they put all the effort they could, and they stood up for themselves. And I think that's something that anyone, or especially women, and girls can look at and use as motivation and inspiration, because that is just, they paved the way for women's soccer. Like, we wouldn't be where we are right now, especially with the women's national team, if they didn't do that. This is a tough question, but for me, I think what always worked was, one, communication. That's key, because you're in the middle, you're controlling a lot of the game, most of the game, you should be at least. Not being afraid of, you need to want the ball all the time. And if you make a mistake with a pass, that's fine. Just go work to get it back. But you need to delegate the game. And if you're not willing to make that pass, that might be risky, then learn to get over that. It could be hard, but being calm and learning how to slow the game down when it needs to be slowed, or speeding up when it needs to be sped up, because that can make a huge difference in any game. The After my senior year, I went to Japan for a week to just like check it out and see if I liked it, and see if I could play with the team, and if I wanted to live there, type of thing. And I ended up not being able to do that because I got extremely sick. Like, I was hospitalized. So
Wow.
that was an experience. I would have still done it if I wasn't sick, but I think I got an agent, and he had connections, so that's how I ended up going there. And then I my coaches were in talk with the Reign, because they wanted to draft me. So when I didn't get drafted, they wanted me to come to preseason. And so I did do that. And I had come after I was really sick and hospitalized. So I kind of had to ease into that process, and they were really nice. And that was a big change just because the NWSL is a huge difference than college soccer, and you're playing with people maybe 10 years older than you and so much more experience. So that was really scary. But yeah, my coaches and just like myself helped me out that way. And then when I wanted to go play overseas, I just wanted to be able to play and then travel, and that was the best way I could do that. And the league was really good, and it was just a different style of playing, so that really fit me. So I asked one of my friend's friend I saw who played over there. I was like, how did you get over there? It's really about networking and connections and just putting yourself out there, because you never know what's going to happen. Literally just messaging someone on Instagram or Googling someone's name and getting an email and just reaching out to people, because that's how it's really done. I didn't realize how connections can get you somewhere until recently. And I was just like, you need to network. I would really suggest that to anyone. Like, just being able to get the cultural experience and travel and meet new people, and it was just all so cool. But and having a good highlight video, that's what I would say. If you can, like any type, like even if you can only film yourself at the park, like having something to show, because that's the only way you can get seen. Yes, a disappointment, but also I kind of knew going into it I wouldn't have a great chance because of my injury. Like, I knew people wanted to draft me, but they were unsure of if I was going to be reliable, and clearly I wasn't. It was tough, but then it was also like, okay, 40 people get drafted, and my class that year was really, really good, and so many amazing girls are still playing right now. Yeah, and so many people get signed undrafted who are really, really good. And I just think that you can't really, get bothered by something like that. It's a cool thing to say, totally, but I mean, it's not that, like, it's not gonna kill me. I don't think so. I think if I could have like taken away all the stress, I totally would have. I'm someone who like wouldn't eat before a game because I was so stressed of messing up or whatever. If I would have learned some mindfulness techniques like journaling or meditating before, it would have really helped me. But I I I mean, if I couldn't have gotten injured, but I'm it's kind of good that I could say that I have no regrets. I think if I could give advice, I would say do the most. Like, don't, at the end of the day, don't feel regretful, like you're too scared to do that pass, like do that pass. And like I said, if you lose it, just go get it back, like don't be so scared of messing up, because you have a team. That's what your team's there for. So yeah, I think if I could like change one thing, it would be so not getting so worked up over the little things. So I was actually supposed to go to preseason this last month with Seattle, or with the rain. But my knee kind of got in the way, of course. So the past 2 years, well, it's been hard. So the last time I played was 2018, and I had to have a surgery that year. And that was kind of like a weird year for me, because I had felt like I was done playing. And it was just like I was dealing with a lot of other like health issues that came from having so many surgeries. My stomach was just a wreck. So I just didn't feel my best. I was trying to play and stuff, but it wasn't working out. And come to find out I had to get my meniscus repaired, and I did. And I'm so glad my doctor reached out and checked in on me. And I think after that, I found an amazing physical therapist that made me feel like I could play again and I had no pain. And so I think that was like a little boost for me. And during that time, though, I started getting into health and wellness. So I became a certified health coach. I started doing a little bit of modeling. So now I'm modeling a lot more. And so I'm kind of doing those things on the side, starting my own business, which seems nearly impossible, but I'm going for it. And I think what has helped me kind of realize that I needed to stop was I felt and like physically looked better when I stopped playing, because like I said, I put so much stress on my body that it almost like kind of made me sick, and my body was under just way too much stress. And I think, yeah, like learning, like I said, to listen to your body, because I could tell the difference between like me training extremely hard every single day versus me like doing a Pilates workout or working out 3 times a week and feeling the best I've ever had. And so I think for me, it was more of a realization that my body couldn't do this anymore. And my knee was like maybe a signal for me to stop and like move on. I do think it's really hard though, because I still obviously want to play, but finding other routes to get that competitiveness out, or maybe helping like the youth or something like that to still get that soccer experience, but not yourself. And it's like an ego thing for me too. Like, I know I could still play and like go travel or whatever and play too, but that's also a learning experience. Especially seeing friends or like looking on Instagram and seeing the team starting to play again. It's like, like it's so hard, but you have to weigh the pros and cons, especially when it comes to your health. We'll see. I'm having pretty intense surgery, so I don't know if I'll be able to after. And I want to be able to live my life without pain. And I'm not really willing to risk that just for a season of soccer, like it's not worth it to me. So unless they had like some magic pill I could take where my knee can just repair itself, but yeah. I don't think so. I feel like I said a lot. And those questions were so great. I feel like if I were to be listening to this as a youth player, I would be grateful, because I like, I don't know, just as a high level player, I couldn't really, I felt like no one got nervous or stressed or like couldn't eat before a game because they were so stressed. Like I literally couldn't eat a thing because I was so stressed. So just being able to like find someone that can connect with would be so great.